Welcome back to Separate Bedrooms. We're back. It's been a couple weeks since we taped, since the wedding episode. We're caught up to real time. The Knicks are in the playoffs. Cavs, Knicks, game 2 today. But I'm actually not watching live because there is a special guest in the house today, all the way from Brooklyn. I'm not watching the Knicks game live because I'm so excited to introduce Colm DeLon, KidSuper is in the house. Welcome. I'm skipping the Knicks game for this. This is big.
This is big, but he has the jersey on, so
I have the jersey on, no spoilers. I texted everyone in my phone. I was like, yo, do not spoil, do not say anything.
Did you record it to rewatch it?
Yeah, recorded it.
Sure.
And I unfollowed Knicks accounts and I left all the group chats. I fully am prepared because no one is gonna fuck my shit up tonight. But I'm excited. That's why I kept being like, yo, Colm, 1 o'clock? I'm gonna do 1 o'clock? I offered every day he was in LA at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. He did.
This is better though.
This is better.
Pressure's off of you to watch this game. I feel like when you watch in real time, you're anxious.
Yeah, because I feel like I can have an impact on the game still.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the way I sit, when I poop, has an effect on the game.
Totally.
Now I just...
You just pray.
Just sit back and...
Well, currently it's happening.
It's happening.
Wow.
The game's happening this is happening. It's intense.
Now I'm feel like I'm part of it too.
You are. Are you a Knicks fan?
I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm not a huge, I am doing a Brooklyn Nets collab.
Ooh.
So I feel like
I'm sorry.
I'm over.
Ew. But didn't you do a collab with all the NBA teams?
I did all the NBA.
Yeah, you did all the.
That's fair.
So that's fair. So you're not a you're not a Nets fan.
I went to high school in Brooklyn, so I do like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Barclays is close to where I went to high school, but
well, see, Nets fan.
This is fucking his junior.
This is fucking fun. No.
Oh wait, I brought you a hat, a bucket hat.
Oh.
You get.
It's a Nets hat.
It's the Nets. No.
Thank you. See, this is good juju.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is easily 10-point lead right here. This feels 10-point lead.
It's somewhat in the colors.
It's giving 10-point lead.
It's like a variation of orange.
Thank you.
And this will be the last Knicks thing we can say, babe. Tell me the time. I'm gonna guess the score. I'm gonna guess the score right now, and people can, when we do
It
this.
is 5:38.
It's 5:38. It's about halftime. I think the halftime score of this game is Knicks 58, Cavaliers 55. That's my prediction. We'll see. We'll see.
Now I'm curious. Are you Googling?
No, don't tell me the score. But you'll know. Oh yeah.
Honestly,
you can
what's
screenshot
sad
it
is
and
that
know.
I don't even know how to Google this.
All right, you guys check the score. Don't tell me.
It's just.
You can show the cam.
Yeah, let's show the cam.
Okay.
Knicks game right now is what you
I googled Knicks game right now. Sometimes I do that though. If he's out and the Knicks are playing,
Why is it so hard to do?
I don't know, but I'll Google the score because I'm he might be in a bad mood right now.
Oh, that's cute. I didn't even know you did that.
I think he might be having a bad day.
Thank you, babe. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's really wifey
Caring,
activity.
loving wife.
I like this.
And sometimes I'm I hope they fucking lose. We'll be in a fight. Not now. They've been winning, and when I tell you I wake up and there's I have breakfast tacos, and then I have lunch made for me, and then he cleans the floor.
It's Knicks playoff ball.
You're in the best mood. You're so giving when the Knicks are winning.
Yup. Also, Knicks fans, men out there, pay attention. It's just good karma. When you're in the playoffs, just be kind to everybody. Just put that good energy out there for the Knicks. Put that good karma out there, you know? But I'm going to keep it up even after the Knicks. Is Colm still looking for the Knicks score? Oh, he's going through your phone?
No, I found it.
I hope he doesn't see that photo of...
Here. I took a screenshot. No one knows. It's in your...
Wait, Julius, come here.
I took a screenshot though. It's in your images.
Okay.
So...
Okay.
Okay, he knows.
Moving
Julius
on.
knows.
I don't know.
No, he doesn't know. No one knows.
He doesn't know, but we have the screenshot and it's like timed. and dated.
Okay, all right. Yo, amazing. Amazing. Colin, we're excited you're now. What are you doing out here?
I'm trying to enter the Hollywood world.
The Matrix?
The Matrix, which, you know, as someone who can relate from coming from a different world, yeah, I was trying to meet people about TV shows, movies, everything.
I like it. Do you have any broad strokes of what the show is going to look like?
So, since for the past like 8 years, a random producer has called me to try to do a TV show on KidSuper. And they would always do a reality show, and they'd always, like, Vice hit me up, all of them hit me up, and they'd come and film a little bit, like, documentaries, and every time they'd always ask, like, so who's the girl you're fucking? Or what are the guys, like, what's your
Who's the guy you're fucking?
Yeah, who's the guy you're fucking? And what's, like, your best friend, like, what's it like, now that you're, like, and it was so dramatic, and they wanted it, like, a real world Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I'd always say the only reason all that stuff is happening is because of the cool things I'm working on. And I just wanted a TV show to open up possibilities where it's like, oh, I have this idea, you guys fund it, and we do crazy things together. And so every time I talked to them, it would be very, they cared about the drama. They wanted like Kardashian everything.
Oh, like the KidSuper Shore.
Yeah, they
Keeping
wanted
up with
that.
KidSuper.
They wanted like Brooklyn Real World, where it's like, look at the house of creatives. Where all goes wrong.
Ooh.
And so I always was like thinking it would be an Anthony Bourdain, but instead of food, it'd be clothing and fashion. That was.
So you want to do a show like unscripted?
No, that was the idea.
Uh-huh.
And then but it was always the goal to do scripted, but I thought the unscripted would be easier to get early on.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I'm doing interesting stuff. This is an interesting world. Just film it. And then, so how the whole TV thing happened was COVID made fashion shows go virtual.
Yeah.
And so during Fashion Week, you were now allowed to do anything. So you could do short films, blah, blah, blah. And I did 4 COVID fashion shows. My first one was a stop motion fashion show. So all the clothes were dolls, and all the models were little Barbies.
Oh wow.
And it would stop motion. And I
Yeah.
ripped off their heads, and I had like 50 Cent, J-Lo, Stephen Hawking, Naomi Campbell, Meryl Streep all walk for me.
Yeah.
But they're obviously the dolls. And then I did a short film. Then I did one where I got a booth on Washington Square Park, and I interviewed 300 people and asked them what they want to do before they die. And then I took 20 of them to do it while they were wearing KidSuper.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That one was dope.
Yeah.
That was very flat, and it was like kind of like the tenor of the world at that point.
Right.
We thought we were all gonna die.
And yeah, especially mid-COVID, taking people skydiving, family reunions, traveling. And then, so each fashion show costs, I mean, it's give or take, but
What was the one question though? What was the funniest thing someone wanted to do before they died?
orgies.
Oh, did you do that?
Sex.
In KidSuper?
Those, but we didn't film them. No.
They like get off record.
Yeah, no, I mean, orgies. A lot of them were like spiritual awakeness, which I didn't know how to supply.
DMT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot of like sexual experiences were probably the funniest ones or the most random. A lot of people would be really like, I want my play on Broadway. Kind
Oh.
of interesting.
Yeah.
But it was also Washington Square Park, which is quite a eclectic group of people.
Yeah.
So we got like teachers, then kind of crazy crackhead people to everything in between.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty meaningful experience because imagine being like walking down the street and then the next day you're skydiving or the next day we sent a mom and the son to Paris. We did blind date. Some people were like, I want to fall in love before I die. So
Oh, that's fly.
I put them in.
That's
blind
cute.
date.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So anyways, I was doing all these weird or unique fashion shows, and my final one, I was like, what if I did a pilot episode of a KidSuper show? And so I'll just call it a fashion show. And because fashion shows, I have to spend X amount of money, like roughly $200,000 every fashion show.
Yeah.
Obviously, give or take, the the stop motion one cost me like $6,000, but that was because there's no actual humans.
Yeah. Naomi did it on the arm.
Yeah, it was all. I didn't have to pay her too much. So I did this pilot episode, and it has Joey Badass, Princess Nokia, Big Body Bez. I got the real Mark Jacobs to be in it, and it feels, if you watch it, kind of like a trailer or pilot. It's 17 minutes. And then I was like, okay, this is my fashion show, and it feels like a pilot. I'll put it. The great thing about Paris Fashion Week, as you were saying about this podcast, is because people watch it, you don't know who's going to see it, and especially Paris Fashion Week has a lot of, high level people see it.
Yeah.
And so this woman, I don't know if you've heard of the brand Alice and Olivia. The founder of Alice and Olivia saw it, and she sent it to her friend who runs Untitled Management, which is a huge management for movies and TV. He saw it, then I met with him, and I was like, look, I have this idea, blah, blah, blah. And and then he was like, you got to meet all these people, and then WME and CNA and all those people, and so now I'm out here meeting with the WME people, and it was all from this fashion show pilot.
That's what's up. Shit, I'm gonna put my producer hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool to be like, again, I had no clue how you got a TV show.
Yeah.
And this is actually a funny story, but I love the show Entourage and How to Make It in America. And this KidSuper show felt similar in those two stories. And I read the IMBD blah 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 of both of them. And there's one name on both of them called Rob Weiss. And so he's following one of my friends that I put in contact, and I talked to him, and I'm like, hey Rob, I have this idea for the show. Yeah. You have done 2 shows that I really like. And he was like, do you have a script? And it was Friday. And I was like, I do have a script, but like, can I just send it to you Monday? I just want to clean it up for you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Didn't have a script at all, and wrote this pilot episode during the weekend and sent it to him on Monday. And he read it, he was like, hey man, like, I don't usually read all the scripts that people send me because they suck, but I really liked your script. And so I'm like, okay, what happens next? I'm like, you're in the industry, now what? And so he was like, well, you can send it to all these people, try to build like a thing around it, and then you go to a network. And I was like, and then the network might pay for a pilot episode. And I was like, couldn't I just skip all these steps and shoot my own pilot episode? And he was like, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. It's like wasting resources, it's time, it's effort, it's super hard. And he's a super established person in TV, so he's not young and like as we all like wanting to fuck around. And I was like, dude, I have to do this fashion show. And he's like, so when is it? I was like, a month and a half. He's like, there's no way you're gonna, like, why would, and so I was like, I bet I can.
I'm glad you didn't listen to him, man, because I think the thing...
No, but he's amazing. Podcast.
No, for sure. But this is something Zach Fox said on this podcast. He said, it's better to just get your people together and make it and then go sell it. Because you're already showing them,
I also think
and I can do it.
It's really cool to, make something and think like, okay, this, I don't know what it's gonna do, but it's gonna open up some doors. And I think that's like the KidSuper ethos and mentality is like, you constantly are like releasing and creating product and creating things, and you don't know what door is gonna open. So for me, it was like, I'm not gonna wait around. I didn't know, like you don't know what path to take, so you don't know where to run. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna be running. And it's like, I don't know which direction it's going, but if you see me, I will be running. And so, that's why I did the pilot episode, and it kind of opened up this whole world to me.
Yo, I really fuck with you for that though. Like your whole energy is fly. Like I didn't follow the whole KidSuper story. I just knew you because I'd run into you in New York sometimes. Like, I think outside of Procella a couple times, and I always knew you were making stuff. And like, but I just, because I went to Taiwan in the pandemic year, I just kind of like lost track with everything. I just blacked out. But like when I came back, your shit was really popping, and I remember the short film. Because I always like keep tabs on like Princess Nokia's acting. Yeah. She's really dope. I love her music. That's my homegirl Destiny. Shouts to Destiny. Because she like originally like was gonna be in Boogie. Yes. Yeah, so like I remember seeing this, and I also always check on Joey because like Joey used to come eat at Bauhaus all the time, and he's just like blossoming as an actor. Right. And I remember seeing it, I'm like, yo, whoever like KidSuper is, he's like on it with like up and coming New York actors out of the music scene, which is like not many people would have known to pick them,
Right.
or that they even wanted to act. And I was just like, I remember watching and be like, yo, this is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny because you were saying out there, but like no one knows where people come from and their stories and everything.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the KidSuper story is a good one, and that's why I was thinking for the show, I didn't skip any steps, right? I didn't know anyone. I didn't blah blah blah. I was just a kid making T-shirts in high school that ended up just hoodies, hats.
Yeah. The LA energy is different though. This is something like me and Natasha struggle with. It's like when you're in New York, you want to do something, you just do it. You don't think too much about like who should be involved and how's it gonna look and yada yada yada. You're just like, let's just do it like for the art of it, for the love of it, for the experience. Here in LA, because it's a business here,
Right.
everyone's like, no, do it this way and do it that way, and then you don't want to do that, and it's like, yo, I'm just playing.
Right.
I just want to play. I'm like, not everything needs to be.
I do think people are hurt by their knowing the expectations, and then they compare themselves with what should happen or what shouldn't happen. When you're coming so left field, you have no fear of, oh, I didn't hit this or this, because you didn't know. You're just kind of happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
And I see it in the fashion world too. When people come out of college with degrees in fashion, they expect their first collection to like sell out or get a job or da-da. When it's really hard to come out with a first collection and expect to be making money when you have these avant-garde clothing that no one really can buy.
Yeah.
You need to actually end up selling like t-shirts, hats, bags, etc. And that's, for me, I started off as t-shirts, hats, and so I had a base as a streetwear designer, and then opened up into Paris Fashion Week and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, tell us more about that transition though, because I remember the streetwear designer in the early days, and a lot of it was like t-shirts and graphic based, but like what do you think like made the leap to like where you are now?
So I was doing a lot, again, I had no idea which way or path was going to take me. I was doing a lot of stuff with art, obviously, because I wasn't a trained clothing designer, but I was always really good at drawing and painting and stuff like that. And I always wanted to prove to everyone that I deserved success. So I'd be like, yeah, you might not like this, but you gotta respect, like, I painted that, I sewed that, I did that.
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to fight for kind of, I didn't want to look like some random kid wanted to make a t-shirt brand. I felt I wanted to prove to everyone that I deserved any little success that I got. So I would always work with, like the little bit of success came from me working with musicians because they'd wear the clothes, but then I'd be like, hey, I can do your album art, hey, I can do your music video, hey, I can do your merch, hey, I can do your posters. And so I kind of got known a little bit as an artist rather than the clothing designer. And then I started doing art shows and stop motion and getting more and more into that world. And someone came into and I was dropping random products here and there and trying to paint on the clothes like every kid's ever done, cut and sew different things. And then some girl walks in to the store and she goes, what's next? And I jokingly go, Paris Fashion Week, but like fully like Paris Fashion Week, of course.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh cool, like my friend here runs a PR agency that's a French PR agency that helps people do Paris Fashion Week. Do you want to meet? And I'm like, well, sure, like I'll literally meet anyone. And so I go into this guy's office and he's like, so for the venue, are you thinking this or this or this? And I'm like, well, my mom's from Spain and I didn't want to look like I didn't know what was going on. So I'm like, yeah, my mom's from Spain. I think a circular thing would be cool, like a bullfighting ring rather than straight. And then it could be themed around all of that. And I could call it a bull in a china shop, because I love that concept of not being in the place you're supposed to be, but probably going to cause a lot of noise. And so the guy's like, okay, cool. And I leave the meeting and I'm like, what the fuck? Did I just plan a Paris Fashion Week show? And I'm like, what happens now? And I keep telling everyone around me, I'm like, so, like, I might do Paris Fashion Week. And I had created this, like, the cool thing about KidSuper, and obviously I know it can be childish and maybe a little corny, but the cool thing, it created this, like, exaggerated version of myself where, like, anything truly was possible. So people believed I could do anything. So I would be like, yeah, I'm doing Paris Fashion Week, like, and doubting myself a little bit, and they're like, cool, like, sign me up, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, you're not gonna say no, and you're not. And so I was like, guys, fuck it. I think we're doing Paris Fashion Week in a month and a half or something. And I'm on Vogue.com, like, how many looks are in a fashion show? And I'm like, okay, this one was 60, this one was 20, like 30 seems safe. And then I was like, who's gonna model for me in these things? Like, maybe I'll just tell all my friends to like come over. And so the first model that comes out on the fashion show is my mother.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the second person's my dad.
Yeah.
And what was cool is, so my mom's short, and she's wearing these big high heels, and we're practicing an hour before, and she's like, ooh, ooh. And we're like, Mom, it's a lot. Like, you don't have to do that much. And she can't really get the walk because she's in her head. And I'm like, fuck it, Mom, just dance. Come out, we'll have a flamenco guitarist come.
Yeah.
And that was the whole like vibe for the end, just dance. And so my mom's like, instantly the dance like loses all awkwardness. And I was like, Mom, even if you fall, you're smooth enough to like make it look like it's a dance. And so what was also great is at that, do you know Dominic Fike?
Yeah.
He's in Euphoria.
Yeah.
So we knew him way back before. And I was like, Dom, you want to walk for the fashion show? And it was his first time in Europe, and he wasn't who he was now. And the flamenco guitarist bailed an hour before because he was stage fright. And I'm like, dude, who can play guitar? And I'm like, Dom, can't you play guitar?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. I was like, can you play flamenco guitar? He's like, just play it for me, I'll try. And so Dominic Fike is playing flamenco guitar for my mom while she walks.
That's
and
so special.
it is unreal.
I didn't notice that part. I remember your mom, but I didn't know that was Dominic Fike.
Dominic Fike's, and then the underachievers walk, and like every one of my friends blah, blah, walked, and my dad second. And so the cool thing about fashion, which everyone considers fashion as like super elitist, exclusive thing, which it is, but to get accepted to Paris Fashion Week's official calendar, you have to just show up, do a fashion show at the same time during the same place, and they'll review it. And if they like it enough, they'll let you in the next year.
Oh, that's ill. You could just be like, I'm doing Paris Fashion Week.
And then you're just not on the official calendar, but you get reviewed, and if you know, like, they kind of support that. Which, to me, it's like pulling up to the Super Bowl and throwing a spiral outside and being like looked at, like, oh, nice arm.
Yeah.
Or like going up to Sundance and renting a movie theater next to it and like them having to come.
Or it's like a civil service exam.
Yeah.
You just show up and take it in the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
They're like, I would like to be an engineer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a rock out here.
So in that sense, like, fashion is kind of open-minded and allowing of people, young.
I had no idea about this till now.
Yeah, and I didn't either, and I was like, so you just show up, and then, so I did that show, and I got this review from Vogue called Breakout Show of Men's Paris Fashion Week.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit, my life's changed, like, I've made it, I'm the biggest name in fashion in my head. I come back to New York, literally nothing's changed. I spent all my money on that fashion show. It was like $180,000. And that, you know, like in New York, you can get a ton for free. Everyone's willing to help out. You have all these relationships. In Paris, I have nothing. I have to fly people out. So it gets super expensive.
So it's not as democratic as we think.
No, you need a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you're French, but you could do the same thing in New York, technically.
Right.
You just have to like get out there.
Get on the you just have to do it. You have to do it.
No, it's not like free.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
Yeah.
But there isn't. I mean, like, obviously the money is a different thing, but there's not like this, like, you need to know this right person to like jump to this thing, or like you have to know this French like something. So that was really cool. And at the same time, like, I'm doing all this stuff in New York, and New York Fashion Week's like, they're not reaching out, they're not talking to me. So basically, I land back in New York after my Paris Fashion Week show. I can't Uber home because I don't even have enough money because I had maxed out everything. My friend Ubers me home, and I'm like, but I got this review. This is awesome. I don't know
Put some ketchup on that review.
Yeah.
Try to eat the review.
And so then I'm like, okay, what's next? And everyone around me is like, are you going to do something for New York Fashion Week? And I was like, well, I always want to be a New York brand. I feel weird that I like left everyone to go to be this fancy Parisian designer. And so there was this organization called Wallplay that gave people free spaces. So it was basically Chinatown had all these landlords had vacant spaces in Chinatown, and they were trying to make Chinatown like a it spot. So they gave it to young artists for free to like have different pop-ups. And as I said before, I had one for 3 months back in the day where I did a theater and I was doing comedy shows and this. So that same organization then gave me a 20,000 square foot storefront in Greenpoint.
Wow.
Which I think is low-key where Kid's store is now.
Wow.
So I got the Kid's store before it was it. And so I was like, I have this 20,000 square foot building, what am I gonna do? And so I was like, this is too much space for me. I want to give this to everyone else. How do I get people here to use it? So I built this like huge pyramid, and I got everyone to donate like as much clothes as physically possible. So they covered the pyramid, and it looked like it was bigger than this whole room of clothing. And you could come pick it up. I got Singer to donate 50 sewing machines, and you could come pick up random clothes, chop it up, sew it together, get it screen printed, and walk away with a one-of-a-kind item. And so it was this kind of participatory, interactive experience for New York Fashion Week, which obviously everyone's like, New York Fashion Week, you don't get in, you don't get excited. So this, anyone could come. And so I was like, yeah, I put it on Instagram, and anyone could come, go play, this is the spot.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, the same 50 people came like every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I'm like, dude, you guys don't have jobs or what? What is like? This is crazy.
Yeah, you just KidSuper roadies.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's going on? And so I'm like, man, you realize that, I mean, in New York City, no one has access to the sewing machines, to space, to like a community, especially if you're far, not from there. It's really hard. And so I was like, what if we, everyone here will work together and we'll make a fashion show, and then in the month's end, we'll have a fashion show during New York Fashion Week. Since it was a hollow triangle or pyramid, I broke it apart and had the models walk out, and I had all the clothes, so it looks like they were coming out of clothes. All the clothes were made, or all the looks were made from the donated clothes, and all the sewers that were coming made part of the looks. And so it was like their first time for all of them being part of New York Fashion Week. I had just gotten this like amazing review in Vogue, but I had no money. And so like everyone's looking at me like, hey Colin, who's paying for, and I was like, I don't know. And so I was paying like for lunches that I could. It was a crazy time. And then the fashion show happened, and Action Bronson ended up walking, and everybody walked, Danny Lay, Lolo Zouai, and it was this amazing experience. And Vogue didn't write about it at all. And I'm like, what the fuck? This has sustainability, community, this is like everything you guys care about.
Is it the woke show?
Yeah, I was like, this is the wokest show ever. Why don't you support it? And they're like, Colin, you did the same fashion week. So basically, I did summer, spring 2019 twice, because I didn't realize that New York Fashion Week a month later is still the same season. And so they were like, we can't review you because we already just reviewed you. I was like, who gives a fuck? Just write a cool article about this. But anyways, I got
This is hilarious that you're just doing fashion weeks in the same season.
And not knowing
the calendar.
And I was like, man, no wonder this is fucking hard. Like a month after you have to do another fashion week.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
You were just like, I really like that Paris thing. We should do it again.
And so then
you like interviewed for a job twice.
Basically, yeah. Twice, fully not knowing and like committing so hard.
But yo, was that the one with the comedians that you did?
No, that was the most recent one.
Yeah, that one is hard.
Yeah.
I really liked it because yo, your brand, it's really like, I feel like a lot of people are following too because you like people's champ in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they feel connected and you're using references that like are their references, and they like, I feel like a lot of people feel included in what you're doing, which is very like important.
I think also like, for sure, I always said the best thing about clothing is the people that I got to meet. I think it's one of the most democratic art forms. We're all in the same room, we're all wearing clothes.
I actually disagree, but I think that's where a lot of your success is coming from, is that you are personally democratic.
Yeah.
Like your vision of it and perspective of it is that it's democratic. I don't think, I would disagree.
No, and I think many people's perception of fashion is like, it's the complete opposite of democratic. It's very exclusive, it's very blah, blah, blah. But for me, it was like, man, you won't listen to my, like, you might not ask me to direct a music video. You won't buy my painting, but you probably will buy a $15 t-shirt from me. So it was like, when I was early on starting, it was like my entrance into meeting all these people. And so that was always the like goal of the brand. And so now that it's bigger, everyone I think feels included, or as you were saying, the energy of it was like, yeah, that's the coolest part of having a clothing brand. It's like seeing people on the street wear it, getting connected. Now I'm doing fashion shows, now I'm doing comedy shows. But yeah, I think also the KidSuper story, there's very few like skip steps where it's like, how did that happen? I was like, I'll tell you. I know exactly how that happened, and it was pretty unexpected, but it ended up, and it got all the way to Louis Vuitton, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, that was crazy. I saw that because you did that back-to-back weeks. It was Louis Vuitton and NBA.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Colm from New York. This is crazy. Like, he jumped out the gym, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for real, props, bro. Like, you really hustled.
Appreciate it.
Like, you really did this shit. The shit, it's kind of wild, like, that it came from just you putting yourself on the Paris Fashion Week calendar and being like, I'm fucking here.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And then I had to do it again, got rejected again, had to do it again, finally got accepted, COVID hit, and then I did all those videos.
Yeah.
And since I did those videos and I was getting known as like I had already done music videos, it was the first, I know COVID wasn't great for everyone, but for me, it put everyone in fashion a little bit on the same plateau, because they couldn't rent out a Paris castle, they couldn't fly out a famous model, they couldn't spend, they had to do these videos. Videos seemed a little bit more, it was more about ideas rather than like production. Because if you do a catwalk on a video, it gets very boring very quick.
Totally.
But if you can be interesting and unique, and so that's what kind of separated me from like this early young brand that didn't have a specific, no one knew what I was doing, to like, oh shit, the KidSuper video is better than the Dior video? Like, do it again, wait, the KidSuper video is better than the Louis Vuitton video?
Yeah.
Do it again, and then you kind of...
And it's crazy you're doing it with like so fewer resources than a house, a legacy house.
But sometimes with little resources, it confines you into a very clear direction.
Totally.
And so like the stop motion thing was kind of having no resources, so I'll make it by hand.
But it's also your vision. Like you just like ooze creativity. You're a creative person. So I think anything you do, just like talking to you right now, like anything you do is going to be something that not everyone else is going to think of, or just have the capability to conceptualize and execute.
I think one of my main skills was just execution.
Yeah.
I was always like, we got to finish this. And that's another great thing about fashion especially, is like, there's a due date. Fashion Week, you have a time, you have a calendar. You can't be like, I don't think my collection's ready. I don't think
about it.
Like music doesn't have that, art doesn't have that, movies don't really have that. You can really fashion is like incredibly structured to release, which makes it incredibly draining and difficult, but also it pushes you to release a lot of stuff and get your ideas out there.
Yeah, your mental game is dumb strong. Like, super strong mental game. Because I'll say this, it's like, I was familiar with you from just like seeing you around, like downtown people. But like, I would see comments, especially after Louis Vuitton, like people hating.
Yeah.
And of course, when you make this big leap, people are gonna hate.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I had not like really gotten to sit down and talk to you till last week. And once I sat down and talked, I was just kind of like laughing a little bit inside, because I was like, yo, people are hating on Colm, but if they got to sit with him for 30 minutes, they would realize there's no stopping him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that is kind of like the illest part, where I'm just like, yo, your engine is crazy. Like, the way you got here is like being honest and true to yourself, and like also bringing in an audience that I don't think was necessarily like insider in fashion. Right. You're bringing people in that normally wouldn't pay attention to fashion, but because they care about you, they're paying attention. It's like you're kind of Joe Roganing fashion in a way. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like you're bringing people with you, and that is Genghis Khan shit. Like, you can't stop that. And so it's like very funny for me to see haters now, because it's easy to hate, but like, I'm telling you, like, dudes like you, I've seen dudes like you. Like, I think there's a lot of similarity between us and Natasha too. And it's like, when we did the podcast, one of my favorite days was the first day the episode came out. Natasha turned it on Apple TV and goes, you know what? This is dope. 3 weeks ago, we said we were gonna do this, and now it's on the fucking television. And I was like, word is bond.
Yeah.
Like, if you have that engine and you just tell yourself to do shit, no one's gonna stop. And it doesn't care if there's people who are really loudly hating the shit. Clearly, there's people that want the shit.
Yeah. No, and I was funny, like, I was, after the Louis Vuitton thing, I was expecting, obviously, anyone who was going to get that role after Virgil. I mean, even Pharrell got it after
He got hated on.
the most hate ever, and it's fucking Pharrell.
Yeah.
So,
You get anything and you're from the community, they're going to hate on you. If you were like some Nepo baby or whatever, you actually wouldn't get the hate because it's expected.
Right.
It's because you're close to the community that when you get the shot, the other crabs in the barrel are like, I should have been the fucking crab to get out the barrel. And it's like,
I also
you in the barrel.
I also had to tell them, I'm like, guys, like, I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
Like, I was not thinking they're like, well, I'll step on him to get it to LV. I did my own. I'm not even in those circles that are hating on me. Like, all those kids are outside trying to be cool. I was inside making shit.
You weren't trying.
Yeah.
You were just doing you.
Yeah.
And
Did
it
you ever
fucking
think, like, when you started all of this?
Dude, I didn't even think it was possible to go to Paris.
Yeah.
Like, let alone LV.
Yeah.
I mean, when I got the call to pitch for the job, it's like a Zoom meeting, and they're like, would you like to pitch? And I'm like, what? And they're like, how long would you want? Like, how much time do you need for your pitch? And my first question is like, how much time does one person usually get for this job? Like, I was so out of it. I didn't even know how much time. I'm like, is it a day or is it 7
days?
Yeah, or 7 months or whatever. And they gave me 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I made a book of 500 pages of ideas. I shot 3 commercials. I rebuilt 2 websites for them. And I had 3D printed everything.
Oh my god.
So
for the Louis Vuitton job.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I think on the list.
Wait, you were applying for the job of the creative director?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they gave me 1 season.
Yeah.
And then and then obviously Pharrell was.
Yeah. But still, no, I saw you did the season.
Yeah.
Like, to get that is crazy, but hold up, 500 pages in 2 weeks is wild.
Yeah.
Like, that's
website,
Rain Man.
websites.
Oh, I mean, if I show in the grand scheme of things, I will Rizzoli this book.
Yeah.
In 10 years, I'm gonna Rizzoli this book.
Yeah.
But it was something that.
The KidSuper LV application. That's hard.
Yeah.
I will be copying that
For sure.
the coffee for IBS Cafe.
We'll be right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you don't expect. I never expected getting the opportunity to apply. So I'm like, dude, I didn't sleep for 2.5 weeks, like fully shaking hands.
Wow.
Because I was like, when are you gonna get that? You worked so hard for that opportunity. Not the job. You will work so hard for the chance to even be in the room.
But aren't those moments exciting? That 2 weeks is probably the 2 best weeks of that year.
I mean, it also felt like, everything, I had all the answers.
Yeah.
Everything I was like, because you think you could never do this.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fuck, I could potentially do
I have a question for you. Me and Natasha talk about this a lot, and I talk about this with my homie Leon Michaels, right? From L. Michaels. And I'm not dropping the name, I just have to say it because I came up with this while talking to him on Molly. We were at fucking GoldenEye one day watching dudes do dub records, old videos of Jamaican guys inventing dub. And I was like, yo, Leon, when you write music or you do a creative project or some shit, sometimes when you're in the zone, does it feel like it's, and he goes, the hand of God. And I go, yes, dog, yes. Sometimes when you get in the zone, it's just unstoppable.
Yeah.
Simulation, right, babe? Sometimes it feels like you're in a simulation.
My perception of that stuff is different.
Oh, really?
I'm just not the most. I don't know if it's the word spiritual, but I'm not the most spiritual person.
Maybe you do as much drugs.
Yeah.
That's what drugs are. He's like, Cole's like, Eddie, I'm not doing the drug talk.
He's like, I was sober when I did my work. I was responsible.
Well, I was just thinking, I think my philosophy on life or whatever is I think humans really enjoy overcoming things, beating obstacles, and whatever that little obstacle or goal is. And so I really enjoy figuring things out and blah blah blah. It's why we love puzzles, why we love Scrabble, why we love
So I have to ask you a question. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just curious about shit now. Have you always been like that?
Yes. I've been the same person since I was 5.
Yeah.
I think everyone is though.
My mom says that. She goes,
I think everyone's the same person that they really were when they were 5 to 6, 7.
Exactly. My mom was like, you guys never change from the age of 6. You know who this kid is gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, I always
There's degrees of change for sure with everyone, but I think your mom.
I always talk to people that are like, oh man, I transformed in this, I changed this. And I was like, I feel like I'm the exact. But again, I started making my first t-shirt at 14.
Yeah, so what you said though is you're
I did the same thing for 20, I did it 10, 15 years.
Yeah, but you said some shit now. You just said, yo, humans enjoy overcoming obstacles. Yeah. That is an ill observation that not everyone is gonna make, right?
Yeah.
When did you start noticing shit like that and then being like, that's what it is, you know?
Because you get frustrated, right, at yourself, or you have these overwhelming thoughts sometimes. Everyone has it. Not that I suffer from anything like that, but I find myself overwhelmed, frustrated, blah blah, and I would just do, and I'd be like, okay, this is, and I'd instantly forget about it. And I realized the process of doing is actually the most enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
And so if it's okay, I gotta figure out this, or I gotta doodle, or I gotta draw, or I gotta try to write something. And so when I talk to people about depression and stuff, which I have never suffered, but I'm always what if you just every time you feel sad, just do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not the best person to talk about this stuff.
No, I know
but that's what.
But my thing is action is really. It's it gets, I love doing stuff.
Yeah. For people with depression and anxiety, it's very hard. Their obstacle is insane. But the thing is, you're not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. And that's I've dealt with that my whole life. And that's what everyone will tell you. First steps when you get into therapy or whatever you do, whoever you're talking to, they'll be work out, get a routine, journal. It's very much do things that take you out of your head.
Yeah.
Do things that make you be around other people.
But also then you get the sense of accomplishment. Also you can track what you've done.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing. I just did some interview and they asked me about I didn't get the full LV job. Pharrell ended up getting.
You did great, man. You did fucking great. Cool.
You did it.
Yeah.
I know, but everyone's kind of touchy about what it feels like. And I was one, I was just so happy that I got the opportunity. No one else got that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then 2, I was these rejection things are just documenting my attempts. I don't consider them rejections. I just this was my attempt that I tried. We've got that solidified in the world, and now I'll keep going, and then we look back at that and it'll be fucking awesome.
So I'm gonna tell you something about Hollywood that I just realized about 3 weeks ago. I'm talking to Natasha about, and this goes for anybody that's trying to do shit in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I came here and I was a writer, a book writer, and I was always I need to prove to them that I can do a screenplay.
Right.
Because a screenplay is an instruction manual for how to make a film or a television show.
Yeah.
And when I came as a writer, I was look, I think I have plenty of skill. I think it's harder to write a book, but I need to prove to you that I can do this because this is a different skill. And I embraced that.
Yeah.
But my mentality fucked me up because I started to go into every meeting and I was super prepared and I had decks and I had a philosophy and a theme and would just try to show them how smart I was and that I could do this. And they'd be you know what? We love this, but it's so specific. It's you seem to already have this figured out and it's just not for us. And he'd be what? And I got a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
And then what happened with Boogie, I got lucky. There was a guy at Focus Features, Robert Wallach. He read the script originally and was I'm not in the market for a basketball film with a Chinese teenage lead. That's just a difficult film. But this is really interesting writing, and I want to meet him.
Yeah.
So I met him at this French restaurant on the west side. I ate sand dabs, and I showed him the whole deck. And there was one photo in the deck of the mom dressed, and there was some inspo photos, a couple inspo photos of like Peggy Goo and the mom dressed like that, and the actor from Taipei Story. And he goes, from that one page, he was like, you had it so dialed in and so specific of like what this mom was gonna wear that I knew you had this movie in your head.
Right.
And so finally I met someone that was like, got my vision. But it's rare.
Yeah.
It's so fucking rare. And what I realized actually works better is instead of treating things like an interview or a test and like, oh, I have a script and you're gonna buy it, I started going in being like, I have an idea. It kind of looks like this, it's kind of in this world, and it kind of is in this tone. What are you guys looking to buy and do?
Right.
Okay, could I adapt it for that? Would you be interested? Hey, let's work together. And I realize in Hollywood, it's about staying alive.
Right.
If you never have a test, you can't fail, and they can't say no. But if you get them in bed and you get them going, and you just continue to take steps forward, it will eventually be made.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think there's a lot of value in failing and being rejected. Like
Yeah.
hearing your story,
Yeah.
every time you thought, like, oh, I just blew all my money in Paris and I have this review and I can't Uber home, that just put you on the trajectory to the next thing that put you on the trajectory to the next thing, and now you're here, you know, and you're gonna make TV and film.
I mean, I did it that way. I only came to this realization 3 weeks ago.
No, totally. I think
No, I mean,
new shit I'm
It's
trying.
funny, I'm in these meetings at Hollywood and I'm like, okay, so what do you need? They're like, well, a pitch deck and da-da-da. I was like, there's no one who's gonna make a better pitch deck than me.
Yeah.
I just proved it for LV. But, and I was like, I can do all this stuff, and they're like, okay. But I was more concerned with just getting in the room.
Yeah.
Like, that was really hard for me. Again, with like, I knew if I'm in the room, I can sell anything or try to sell anything.
Yeah.
But the getting in the room was tough, especially from where I was coming from. Like, I knew nothing or no one or whatever. And you hear about these agents and all this stuff. And so you're like, because I remember agents tried to sign me like 4 years ago, and I didn't know what an agent was. And I was like, any of you know whoever made Nathan For You? You ever see that show?
I love that
That's the
show.
best.
Yeah, and I was like, this is my favorite show on TV.
Yeah.
If one of you can introduce
I just
me
talked to
them.
the head of the
I feel the same. I don't have nothing to make. I'm like, I just want to know you guys.
Yeah, I was like, I want the guy who made this, because whoever made this would understand how to make something about me, because it's so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met with them and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the journey to TV has been hilarious.
Have you met anyone where you're like, yo, I think this could work?
It's really tough, man. It's a lot of like, and I'd love to like, I mean, even you're helpful, but it's just like, they're saying I love you, and you're saying I love you, and you're like, oh, you didn't say I love you as good as that guy said I love you. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to be, it's hard to really feel, and you have to take a risk on some, or like a leap of faith, but yeah, it's a lot of saying like, oh, this is amazing.
I think the two things when selecting partners on your projects is really just like, do we all understand the same tone? Like, do we want the same tone of this project? And then like, do you respect the taste of the producer?
Right.
Because you can't change and you can't give somebody good taste.
Right.
And if their taste level isn't at yours and complementary, it's never going to work. No matter how big their credits are,
Right.
no matter how many people they know, because they are going to butt fuck your shit
Yeah.
royally. It has to be similar tone, similar taste.
Yeah.
I have a question about this because I feel I'm an outsider
Yeah.
of both like fashion and TV.
I mean, you're
and film.
producing a podcast.
For
an
sure,
it
for sure. But I mean the industry,
Hey.
like, in the way that when you talk about it, I don't sit in meetings with agents and producers and whoever else. It feels like when you have an idea for TV and film, by the time it gets made, there's been so many hands on it that the DNA has changed.
Yeah.
In fashion, do you feel that way at all? Or do you feel like when you have an idea and you execute that idea, it still feels very organic to your identity?
Fashion's just so fast.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like you'll start designing, then in 3 months it's like fully out, and then you're like, And fashion is more, you feel like part of it feels more of a commerce, of a business. You're like, okay, I have this artistic vision, but you have to like dilute it to, okay, I need t-shirts, I need hats, I need the thing that I'm finding or whatever is it becomes way more of like, okay, you're a businessman. And I'm fully like the most of a natural creative. So the business part is quite hard because it's
No,
a
you
lot
got
of
business skills though.
You do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is you're not a bit. You don't think like a businessman, but you got business skills. You have mental fortitude.
Right. But it's a lot of emotional dealing with.
Okay.
Where you have like staff and then you're like, dude, I'm here, like I came here to make shit. Now I'm dealing with like, so that part, and you know, like, again, I didn't know, never had a real job because I started at 14, I started making money at 17, enough to survive, or 18 maybe, and so I didn't know like what HR is. I didn't know like, oh, there's a head of digital, there's a marketing, the production team has 4 people. And so now I'm hiring people from structured companies and my first thing is like, just tell me your company's structure. And so like I get all their structures of different companies and I'm like, okay, I probably need this role, probably need this role. So it's quite fun.
Yeah, actually, it's like what Natasha's asking. It seems it's like you're going through it now.
Yeah.
You're growing tentacles.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
it's like gonna be interesting.
Changes things,
It
I would imagine.
Definitely, and you become less of, are you going to take the business role? Are you going to take the creative director role? Because no one has both, like no one's both.
Yeah, you can.
In successful businesses.
So it's scary at all for you to like think about potentially?
You just get let down a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you're like, man, I thought you would be the person I thought you were going to be, and you're not.
Yeah.
But you're like, fuck, I should have never let you in. I had no one in before. So the letdown thing's a little bit
I feel like you
difficult.
experienced that.
Yeah.
But you try to do it all.
Yeah, it's really dope. I don't usually admit this stuff. Not that I don't want to, but it's like it's dope because usually I only talk to Natasha about this. But you're going through so many similar things I'm going through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I think I made a mistake in my younger career because I could do everything.
Yeah.
Like I ran a restaurant, a profitable restaurant, so I was clearly good at business. I could
Right.
balance the books. I was an attorney, so I could do my own legal. You know, like I would sell myself in a room like you, but I would also write. And then I just realized, like, the most basic Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours shit.
Right.
It's like you have to choose what you want to be the best at and trust other people.
Yeah.
Like you have to trust other people and you have to have this mentality where it's like, I don't need to own 100% of everything. I can own 60% of something ginormous.
Right.
And it's like, that is the metamorphosis I've been going through the last 5 years, is letting people in, learning to trust, letting things go, and not being the type of person who's like, I wouldn't have done it that way. I did it better when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Bro, of course I would. But like, choose the thing you're gonna be the best at and let everyone be the best version of themselves in that position. Like,
No, and it's a super, and I agree full-heartedly, but it's super hard to let people in and then be disappointed and be like, why did I do it? And then you're supposed to not only now figure out everything else you're personally doing, but now figure this out, and then it's also...
especially with homies, it's hard with homies, man.
Yeah.
It was really hard with homies.
Yeah.
Because homies are never gonna see you like a boss.
Yeah.
And they're never gonna take it as seriously as someone who's not a homie.
Right.
Unfortunately. Like, and when you try to tell your homies, they don't get it. Because they're like, I love you, I'm loyal. I'm like, you do love me, and you are loyal. But you don't think of me as a boss because we're really friends.
Right.
It's fucking impossible.
Yeah. No, and I'm dealing... Also, another thing is, I'm very friendly to everyone, and I can become friends quite quickly. And then it's also like, okay, you're also not... We're not actually... I mean, we are friends, but there is a hierarchy here. It's very tough.
It's tough.
I don't know anyone who's figured it out.
No.
It
It takes a ton of maturity on both sides, which like is really hard if you're friends.
Yeah. What were we gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's like a very delicate dance when you're working with friends, especially at a high level, because you know?
You just
it
hope
changes
everything can
things.
work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
And you almost at some point, I feel, have to make a choice.
It's not an
Is
easy
this-
one.
Yeah, it's not.
When it works with my friends, it's because they're elite at what they do,
Yeah.
like Julius, and they treat it like their business.
Right.
And I'm like, word, because the friend that you're hiring has to understand it's on them to maintain the professionalism.
Right.
If they leave it to you as the boss, then you're forcing me to not be friendly.
Right.
And that is where it all goes to shit because I'm gonna choose the friendship.
Right.
Now I'm just gonna take away the job.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be fucking pissed. But I had to take away the job because I cannot talk to you about professionalism.
Right.
Otherwise that breaks G code. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of outside
That is
the
a
bounds
great.
of
I
friendship.
mean, I feel like I should just cut that clip and just text it like
So that
everyone
in the
around me.
meeting.
yeah, because it's like simple. They want the job too.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, homie, don't make me be your boss. That is the
Yeah.
key to working with friends.
Yes.
Don't make me the boss. And then us, we have to not take the bait and don't be the boss.
Yeah. No, that is. We're just. If we can have this podcast, it's gonna be 13 seconds, and it's not 13 seconds.
We'll clip that. We'll clip that.
We will clip that. So Cole can send it to his homies working.
No, I just be like, whoa, what a cool point. Like, wow, this is really exciting. Should watch this, specifically you, watch this, you, watch this.
Yeah. But no, man, I've been doing shit like you too, because we didn't have any resources to start this shit.
Yeah.
Like, even this podcast, we didn't dump a lot of bread in this.
Right.
Like, we had to fucking
Yeah.
go out and get it, but it teaches you so much about yourself. As much as I'm like, yo, we're bringing in other people, like, that's me growing into being a businessman.
Right.
But like, the essence, the kid we were at 6, is like, let's do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, always.
And it's fun, and there's
How do you feel about, like, I always am curious to this, when your initial vision of Boogie
Yeah.
and what it came out with, how different are they?
This is a good question. I've never talked about this. And it's like, I love, like, much respect to Focus Features, honestly,
Yeah.
because, like, they were the ones that believed in me to direct a movie.
Yeah.
And they needed a certain type of movie, and they got that movie. And, like, I will be eternally grateful. The original script, Boogie, he dies in the film. It's like much
I didn't
more.
even know that.
Yeah, he commits suicide. It's much more Basketball Diaries, and the film was much more about abuse. Like, in the film, the mom hits him a couple times.
Yeah.
But I had to even fight for those scenes. Like, we had to lose a lot of the violence in the home. But that film was not about basketball originally. It was about domestic violence, which is why nobody wanted to make it. You know? And luckily for me, like, God bless Robert Wallach and
Right.
Cujo and fucking Lou Phillips over there, they were like, we can keep those elements and we can keep Eddie's like pain and all the things he wants to talk about in an Asian American home life, but let's put a bigger basketball engine in it and like make that film. And
yeah.
I never dreamed it that big. To be honest, I saw it as like a $5 million film.
Right.
And so I also originally wrote it and he was in college.
Right.
So it was aged up a little bit. So I had to take out the suicide, take out half of the abuse, land him in high school, put a bigger basketball engine in it. But it was like, you want to make a film or not?
Right.
And I think you'll relate to this, Colm. It's like, that film to me is a compromise film. It's not what I set out to make, but I had to get on base. And like, I had these people that believed in me and they had a vision of a version of this film that I would be down to make.
Right.
I'm with it. I'm riding with you. Is that the film I wrote? It's not. You know, like, I wrote that version, but it wasn't the original version. But you have to make these decisions as artists. Otherwise, when else was I going to get to make my first film?
Well, I was also wondering because when I did the pilot episode, I had shot it like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and edited it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday it had to be submitted to Paris Fashion Week.
Wow.
Crazy time, and the reason it was that late is because the clothes arrived on the Wednesday before that. And so clothes arrived, shot, edited. And there was a part of it where I was like, because you watch movies and you're like, how could this be so bad? Like, how could people approve of all these bad stuff? Like almost every movie that's out now, I'm like, how did this get across a million? There's like 400 people that go watch it, to work together for a movie. And when I was doing that one, I felt like, oh shit, I have to lose this shot because of time and budget. Oh shit, I have to we don't have enough time on the editing floor to make this perfect. Oh, I was wondering, was that similar in a huge film?
You know, it was interesting. It was really difficult on the days. We only got about 26 days to make this film, which is like not many days at all.
Yeah.
And
is it back to back?
No, you get Saturdays and Sundays off, but like we have overnights, so there's days where you start shooting at like 1 and you stop shooting at 1, or you start shooting at 6 and you stop shooting at 6. Like it's crazy shit.
Yeah.
But no, it was really hard on the days. But me, I didn't know you could go over.
Yeah.
Every day I just rushed to the end and I didn't get as much coverage as I would have liked. And it was funny. The head of production, Lou Phillips, said to me after, he's like, yo, Eddie, I was so hard on you and I told you to like watch out for the money because you present much like an artist. And he's like, then I realized you're really responsible and a business person and you owned a restaurant. And he's like, you followed it to a T because I turned that movie in on time and under budget with the first cut. Then what it was, because of the pandemic, we couldn't have reshoots. You know, R.I.P. Pop Smoke.
Right.
And then we spent a lot of time in the edit.
Right.
That's where we had a lot of time, but on the days of shooting, not much.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot. Like I just never could have known doing this film, and like I can't wait to get out there and do another one.
Right.
Because like, you know, your first film was the biggest education you could possibly have.
No, even the little pilot episode I did in the 7 days, I was like, I've never learned so much, and realizing the things that could work and couldn't work, but you would never realize that without failing or trying.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm always curious with people. I'm like, when you have a big production, like that was a pretty big production, but obviously, and I had the luckiness of masking it with a fashion show, so no one truly cared if it was good or bad. It was an interesting thing. So when you're doing film, you don't have that luxury of just being like, oh, by the way, it's just art.
No, it's like you better make your money, and that was the good thing. Like Boogie made its money.
Yeah.
You know, it made its money. It did well. It served the audience it intended to serve.
Right.
And like now I know also like how to fight for my vision in the future, and like really like think like, you know, you can manipulate a budget in different ways and things like that. And so like I'm just excited to do this again because it reminds me of Wong's World, where when I started, it was fresh off the boat, an internet show at Vice.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough money to make it. We were rushed on every day, and I was just fighting to do it. But as soon as we got from season 1 to season 2, and they doubled our budget, it just went bananas.
Right.
Because it was like they trusted me to give me the tools I needed to do the art, and the show just took off. And then the more you do it, you get your 10,000 hours, you just get fucking good.
Yeah. How much prep did you have for Boogie? Like, how...
Man, it was only about 3 weeks of prep.
What the fuck?
It wasn't that
Crazy.
much. It was about 3 weeks.
And then
of prep.
casting?
Dude, we were casting people up to the weekend before we shot.
Crazy.
Like Taylor Page, we were like fighting, begging for Taylor Page. We love Taylor Page. And she signed on like, I think 5 or 6 days before shooting started. And she was such a trooper. Like she had to get her hair done and she had a lot of shit she needed to do to get ready for the role. Like, and she did it like in a week. She was a trooper. She's phenomenal.
And the main actor you always had?
Taylor Takahashi was my assistant through all of the development. And then halfway through prep, literally the second week of prep, we flipped him into the lead role. And so like he stepped into it. He never acted in his life. It's like when you talk about KidSuper shows, you know, like, yo, you just had to go.
He was your assistant prepping.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, wait, what about this guy?
Yeah.
Fit the role though.
One day, so what happened was we cast an actor, great guy, he's still in the film, and we're still cool, and it was funny, he said he could play basketball. We got on the floor, and not for nothing, like, no disrespect, you can't really play ball, son. He knows it, I mean, we'll admit this, but like, it was funny too, because I ran into him when we first met, and I met you up in New York, Remember that?
Oh my god, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, I went out. She was like taking a nap. I went outside of the public hotel, and Ming Wu was practicing basketball, and I played him one-on-one, and like it made my heart warm, because this kid, we found him in casting, we loved him.
Yeah.
And it was actually down to him and young Mazzino, who's Paul in Beef now.
Okay.
And I was just watching their 2 auditions over and over and over. And Ming Wu had a butt cut, and I was just like, yo, he kind of like the Asian DiCaprio. Like, I'm kind of fucking with this vibe. I mean, went Ming Wu. But the basketball was very difficult. So Taylor Takahashi, who was my assistant, became the basketball coordinator on the film. And because he's the all-time leading scorer at Alameda High School.
In reality.
In reality.
Okay.
So he's
actually a very good basketball player.
Incredible ball player.
Okay.
Like, could have played college, had a knee issue.
Okay.
He's training him, and we're doing it, and then like he's in every read, every rehearsal, and I look at him, and he's got the same. We go to the same barber.
Yeah.
You know, he's like wearing my clothes. He's living in my apartment with me, and I'm like, yo, son, if anyone knows how to play this character, it's you. And he's like, yo, you crazy. I'm like, no, I'm serious. You've been on this film for like 8 months. We play on the same basketball team together for a year. Like, you have a very similar upbringing. You're age appropriate. You know, you're a spicy Asian dude. It's you. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, get out of here. And then I went to the casting director, and I was like, yo, what do you think about Taylor? And Becca Dealey, straight up and down, goes, I have been thinking this the whole time. You are a moron. He's sitting right in front of you. And I was like, I know. And, you know, she didn't call me a moron, but she's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
And then I went to Focus, and they were like, no, I didn't go to Focus after that. The next day, I go into the office. Taylor's got his backpack on. And I go, give me your backpack. He's like, what? I was like, give me your backpack. Here's the sides. Go lock yourself in my office. I'm gonna work in the main with everybody. You have my office. I'll put you on tape in 3 hours. He's like, what? I was like, you're Boogie. Trust me. Just do this. He's like, dude, this is crazy. And I was like, trust me. 3 hours. I'm taping you. I go. I tape him. I show it to Becca Dealey. She's like, dude, come on. It's him. We send it to Focus. Focus, like, God bless them. They were like, we can't deny it. We can't deny it. It's him. And I was like, that studio is ill for that. Robert Wallach, Cujo, incredible executives. They were just like, we see it. We're not gonna like fight you on this.
So is the other guy already in?
The other guy then became the other Asian basketball player on the team.
Okay.
So I found him a role, because I was like, yo, I'm not gonna break nobody's heart. Like, I love you. So I found him.
So is now this kid still acting?
Taylor, who played Boogie, is now, he just wrapped another indie film. He was a lobsterman in Maine. So that's coming out. And then Ming Wu is acting too. He's in other stuff. Yeah.
That's a crazy last minute change of pace.
Insane stuff. For your first film, man, like, by any means necessary.
Yeah.
How old
You have to steal your
But
first
he's
film.
playing how old? Because he does look older.
Yeah, when he was doing it, he was like 25.
Okay.
25, 26. No, he turned 26 the week we started shooting.
Okay.
And he's playing an 18-year-old in the film.
Okay.
But he
That's
aged
standard, though.
Standard. Standard.
Like
Alexa
yeah.
Demi.
I was
on
gonna say,
Euphoria.
yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, I'm going for 12. Just like, we're in high school, dude.
No, it's crazy stuff, man. But I'm really excited to see what you end up doing. Like, even if when you just listen to the people that you've been casting in your fashion shows, like, clearly you see it. Joey.
Yeah.
You know, Destiny.
Yeah.
Dominic Fike. Like, homie, like, that's half the battle.
Right.
Is who are your co-conspirators.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's amazing to hear your story about getting it across the finish line. And now having a film that like lives forever.
Yeah, you steal it. Like, very few people, like, I will say, I'm very jealous of the directors where I'm like, damn, they wrote like the perfect script, they found the perfect partner, they got the resources, and they did that first film and they nailed it. That's like their talent.
Yeah.
It's not like luck. But like, you know, I grew up knowing I wanted to do film from the age of 17. But that's late.
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids growing up in LA, they know Dumb early.
Yeah.
But I watched Good Will Hunting.
It's my favorite movie.
Stop. This is his
Yeah.
favorite movie.
I have the videotape. Where is it over here? But I will break it out later. But
Text my friends right now, ask them what Colin's favorite movie is.
Yo, Good Will Hunting changed my life because like I was facing so much shit at home.
Right.
And when I saw that film, I was like, I never thought there was like art that could make me feel that close to somebody I didn't know.
Dude, best movie ever.
Yeah.
The great thing about that movie, right, what I love, is he's this genius character
Yeah.
that you're always curious, like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? But they never answer what he's gonna do.
No.
And you're still equally satisfied because you're like, he picked his friends, he picked love, he picked all this stuff. And you know, I just love a good group of friends that got your back.
Totally.
Yeah. And in so many ways, that movie answers like an existential question about like, why are we here and what's important?
If you can do anything, what do? You still pick.
Yeah.
Like this simple stuff.
Yeah.
This, you know? This is what you choose. It's like family and friends, like good fucking times. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that complicated. But yeah, man, like, should we eat this oxtail?
Yes.
Bro, let's do oxtail.
Let's eat the
Let's do
oxtail.
oxtail.
And
You know
watch
what? If you
Good Will
stay here,
Hunting.
I'm gonna bring you the food.
Oh, wow.
You guys hang, cause that
Incredible.
way Julius doesn't have to reset. But we're getting oxtail for everybody.
Fuck yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Oh man. I feel like I have different kind of like zones, but my childhood favorite movie of all time was The Fifth Element. I watched that movie
Great
over
movie.
and over and over and over again. And
Great
it's so
movie.
nostalgic to me.
It's crazy that it didn't really inspire the similar. It's like stands alone as a very unique film.
Yeah, but it made me love sci-fi.
Yeah.
Sci-fi became my favorite genre. Like,
And then
I
what other
loved
movies?
Reading like sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Oh, I love like all the aliens, all the Prometheus. I love Sunshine.
I feel like Fifth Element is just so much better than all of those movies.
For sure, but I like futuristic shit. Like I like thinking about the future. Like
Well, I like retro future, which is what
Okay.
Fifth Element is.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
the cars don't look great.
Yeah.
They're messy, but they
Yeah.
can fly.
For sure.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You
But
ever
I
seen
like-
the movie Brazil?
Yeah, I love Brazil.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Still don't know why it's called Brazil.
I don't know either, but it's sick. I just like people who are thinking about things. I like someone who's thinking about things and I'm like, I didn't know that could exist.
Right.
Or your take on futuristic, retro future, whatever it is. I think it's fun.
No, it's also hilarious when you like those older movies are like 2024 will be like,
I know.
and then we're here and
Now it's kind of crazy because they were like 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is so disappointing. When I was a kid, I thought for sure I will have a flying car. Like I in my heart believed that.
We are getting to very strange times though.
Yeah, but in like weird ways, like AI.
Yeah.
How do you feel about AI in fashion?
I think it's gonna kill us all.
Yeah.
And I just had a meeting with Puma and with their team, and the first thing they did was AI blend a Puma shoe with a KidSuper clothing
That's crazy.
to like make a new original
Was that like
shoe.
crazy to see? Because
It just
like,
was-
This isn't even I didn't make this, but
That wasn't, the part that I didn't like was that I found myself, we were sitting there waiting for the AI to give me the right answers.
oh, interesting.
And like your mind kind of switches to the point where you think, okay, that knows it.
Yeah.
I just need to plug in the right things for it to tell me.
Yeah.
So you kind of
It's like a test.
take the back seat instantly
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, and then you're like, wait, am I not coming up with anything original right now because I just changed my mindset?
I just read an article last night. I sent it to him when we were in bed. I was like, literally could not sleep after this. There was a photographer who submitted his photo to like some photography awards. It was
Yeah.
like the one, and he won. And then after he won, he was like, just want to let you know, this is an AI generated image, and I just wanted to get the I wanted to see if it would win. And then if it did, I wanted to get the conversation started on like what's ethical and what's not ethical, because this is a problem we're gonna keep running into. I was
Yeah.
like, that's
Alright,
so
cool.
wild.
Please enjoy
Wow, I'm so
the
excited.
oxtail tomato
my
eggplant
God,
stew.
babe, thank you.
Wow. Are you not having
Am I not
any?
partaking?
Yo, I'm gonna get some, but I wanna see, you know, the vibe. I wanna see a vibe. Julius is gonna get the coverage, you know. You'll get in there, Julius. I feel like this is, you know, you gotta get off the sticks for this, homie.
Damn.
How is it?
One, I just love a home cooked meal,
Me too.
which I don't have often.
It's hard in New York.
Super hard in New York. So off that, it's already amazing, but also super unique.
Yeah, we invented this dish for
I
you.
was gonna say, this was
so-
invented today.
I also didn't eat all day because you prefaced it.
I'm gonna get you paper towels. My bad.
Thanks, babe.
It's really hot.
It's incredible.
I'm trying to look like I'm eating it all.
It's very fucking hot. The roof of my mouth is gonna be destroyed tomorrow. I will not be tasting shit for the next week.
We need to.
I know.
Just want to chill.
I would just feel like a wimp when I blow on my food, but I kinda need to.
My bad. The food's for sure too hot.
No, it's good.
It's great.
It's a hot meal. You know, we can't
Here you
complain.
go, Colin.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, babe.
Yeah, it's looking fire though. I had a sippy sip. I was like,
Okay.
ooh, this broth is pretty good.
How often are you cooking?
Oh man, at
Every
least
day.
3 times a week. Yeah.
Now every day.
Yeah, every
I'm
day. Oh
getting
yeah, I
spoiled.
cook every day because your breakfast.
Yeah.
It's so automatic. I don't think about it.
But what about like grocery shopping? How do you like that?
We grocery shop multiple times a week.
Yeah, we love it. Cause it's just like, man, that's the thing about LA that is really cool. You get space to do your thing. You know, you really get space to like cook and barbecue and you know, collect books.
I know. Collecting books really is such a luxury that I did not have in New York. I was like, I have to give this shit to someone. Like, it does not fit in my home.
In New York, it just doesn't work. You can only have like one bookshelf of books.
Right.
We have a full cabinet of books.
And like piles downstairs.
Yeah. It's important, like if you're writing or you're making stuff, it's important to have books just to stare at.
Right.
Because I'm just like, you don't have coworkers, but books are a way to communicate with people.
So what are you writing now?
Well, I got a show at Showtime I'm really excited about called Panda. So I got that over there. I got Tuna Melt. That movie is the thing I'm the most excited about. Sis is attached, Justin Chan is attached, and like it's basically a toxic rom-com thriller where a hitman breaks up with his girlfriend and then has to go do a job and kidnaps this woman's boss, and it's the love of his life. So he basically breaks up, does a kidnapping, and meets the love of his life at the kidnapping. Yeah.
And you wrote that.
Yeah.
And are you also directing it?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
a director. Yeah.
And the TV show?
Yeah, yeah. I direct everything I write. You know, I feel like it's cohesive that way. I don't want to like. It's weird. It's like getting cucked if you write something and someone else directs it. Like, I don't know about that, man. Hey, yo. But I feel like we
Like
should let
super
them-
common. Very few directors write the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of directors take assignments or like, it is a different skill set. You know, like writing and directing is a different skill set. My favorite directors write and direct. Just, you know, it happens to be, but there's some that they're really good at coming in and directing.
Goodwill Hunter's not writer director.
No, written but not directed by. Gus Van Sant is a monster. Like Gus Van Sant is an absolute
If you
monster.
could have one person direct a film that you wrote, who would it be? Dead or alive?
And why is it Gus Van Sant?
You know, if I wanted somebody to direct it visually, I think it's Michael Mann, right? Like I think Edward Yang's films are the most beautiful. He's passed away.
Yep.
Next, I would say like Wong Kar-wai, then Gaspar Noé. But like my films just aren't at that pace or tone. The dude that visually I think is the illest that my writing would match up pace and tone is Michael Mann.
I agree.
Yeah, but if I was to like do subject matter, probably David O. Russell. Like that dude's subject matter in his films, like The Fighter, I really relate to a lot of the like family abuse and things like that. And like Soderbergh is also one of those dudes who's just like, he's ill, like he can do anything.
Yeah.
Cuarón and Soderbergh are probably like the illest, just like directing skill ninjas.
I think so.
Yeah, so those dudes can do anything they want.
Who directed Fifth Element?
No, I'm just saying who directed it.
Yeah.
What's his name? Luke Besson?
Yeah, he did The Professional as well.
Yeah, he's great.
He's incredible. That guy.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah, really the best French action director of his generation.
I thought you said who would direct your Fifth Element.
Oh.
And I was like, me, of course.
Yes, Cole, if you did a show, who would you want to direct it?
I would want each episode to be directed different. I feel like
I like that.
a new world. But I don't know who's to do one of them, but the Safdie brothers would be a cool episode. Make it tense. New York.
Yeah, anxious.
Yeah.
They're masters of like pace.
Anxiety.
And like the hustle and bustle aspect of making a t-shirt brand with their stuff would be cool. I do like Soderbergh because for like the ensemble crew would be cool. But yeah, you see a lot. I mean, like,
I think the dude that would get you, subject matter wise, is Damien Chazelle.
what did
wow.
he do?
Whiplash,
Oh.
La La Land,
Babylon, right?
Babylon. Like that dude, he's
He
like
creates worlds.
he's big world.
Big worlds, yeah.
Big world, and then also just understands like like the Whiplash character. I think there's like a lot in that character that like can be analogized to you. Like, have you seen Whiplash?
Yeah.
Monster, like Miles Teller's character in there is just like unstoppable, like unstoppable force.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when you're doing a TV show, getting one of those guys attached early on, super important.
They want none of the dudes we mentioned would ever do our shit. Not. I mean, maybe in the
Don't
future.
say that.
You know what I'm
The
saying?
energy in this room is that they
The
can all
energy
happen.
is maybe Papa Michael Mann will show up one day, like when I really got that script.
Yeah.
But it's just like maybe one day. Who knows? Like you're right. The energy should be like but it's just like those dudes are ill. They're so dope. I like all of them.
Yeah. And people that just like are so good at what they do.
Yeah.
I'm like so fascinated. I want to know everything about them. I want to know their story. I want to know how they think, what their like all of it, you know?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing with directors that are that dope. I've never had the inclination to be like, yo, I want to meet you. I want to pick your brain. I want to work together. I'm always like, yo, I like revere you from a distance and I want to come get you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make something, one day I'm going to make something and you're going to want to meet me. Like, that's kind of like how our neighbor, like we live across the street from Tarantino.
Is he really there?
Yeah, he drives by, sees us walking dog. I never bothered this dude because I was like, one day I'm going to make some shit and then you're going to ring my doorbell. Hopefully. Because I'm just a huge fan of his.
Yeah. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Him living across the street's pretty cool.
It is.
You got close
so
enough.
surreal.
Bro, it's wild.
It's truly one of those things where I think I grew up like loving this man and everything he's made, and it's so weird to be like, just like going on a walk. And I'm
We
like,
all love feet.
That's insane.
You know, like it's the foot fetish block. And then like, also like you love Kill Bill. Like you've always said it's one of your favorite movies.
For sure.
And he
One of my favorite
drives the Kill Bill car every day.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pussy wagon?
Yeah.
No, the
No,
yellow.
the yellow.
Actually,
Ford.
I feel bad like doxing him kind of or not.
But no
I don't
one knows
know.
where we live.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's the weirdest thing. It's so cool. Sometimes I'm like, this is.
Is his
my
house
little
ridiculous?
kid.
I'll tell you the craziest thing that's happened, right, Colm, is like, so we bought tickets as fans to go hear him talk when he put out
Oh
like
my God.
the cinema speculation book. and we pull out of our driveway to get there, and he's
Early.
pulling out at the same time.
We're
and we,
driving at the same route together.
It was
I was
wild.
like, this is so crazy.
all the way to his talk.
Yeah. And then we're
fanned
sitting
out.
in the audience, and I'm like, this is bizarre. I'm such a big fan of
It's my neighbor.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the LA thing.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Because I don't know any famous people's addresses in New York.
But the people on your block probably like, I see that KidSuper guy. he's
There's
he's wearing the
definitely people
bodega
in
on
your
his
building.
jacket.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so the food is done. Julius, you see an empty plate.
The food was incredible.
I feel like this is a good episode. This is a phenomenal
Yeah, this was a
episode.
lot of fun.
Thank you, Cole. This is
Thank you
amazing.
for coming.
Oh, there's the meat on this one. Here.
Take it. You know how I am with food these days. My cravings
Yum.
are insane.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And
And now we get seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going for seconds for sure.